There are whispers again, louder this time. Whispers that even Beyoncé, the queen herself, could not ignore. For years, the world worshipped her perfection. Every step, every smile, every move calculated like art. But behind the glimmer of fame lies the one chapter Beyoncé never meant to make public, her twins, Sir and Rumi Carter. And now, those whispers have exploded into a storm. You see, it all began innocently, a few curious fans asking harmless questions. But curiosity turned into obsession. Obsession turned into conspiracy. And suddenly, people were not talking about Beyoncé's music anymore, they were dissecting her children's lives like a courtroom case. Somewhere along the way, people forgot, these are children. Real, breathing, innocent children. But the internet? It has no mercy. It wants answers. It wants proof. And it believes Beyoncé owes it both. Sighs, as if fame meant signing away your family's right to privacy. As if the crown came with a clause that said, explain your children to strangers. But then, the chaos deepened. It began with Azealia Banks, a name that always brings noise before reason. Out of nowhere, she accused Beyoncé of hiding her son, Sir Carter. Her words were venom disguised as concern. Stop hiding your son from the world, sis, she wrote. Sooner or later, people will find out, and you'll look ashamed of your own child. And that was the match that lit the wildfire. Because if there is one thing the internet loves more than fame, it is suspicion. And then, like clockwork, another storm rolled in, this time from Kanye West himself. One morning, he woke up and decided the Carter twins were his next topic. No filter. No empathy. Just chaos. He went on X, yes, the app formerly known as Twitter, and unleashed a series of posts so disturbing that even his fans could not defend them. He questioned the twins' mental capacity. He hinted Beyoncé had used IVF to conceive them. And for a brief, horrifying moment, those words went viral. Yes, he deleted them minutes later, but screenshots are forever. The Beehive, Beyoncé's fiercely loyal army, descended like a storm. They flooded timelines, demanded apologies, and made sure Kanye knew that messing with Beyoncé's children was the one sin the internet would never forgive. But it did not end there. Matthew Knowles, Beyoncé's own father, entered the battlefield. He called out Kanye's ignorance and cruelty, warning that stupidity comes with a price. And then, in a tone both protective and prophetic, he said Kanye needed to check on his mental health. And that? That was the final nail in the coffin. Because when Kanye tried to apologize, it sounded more like damage control than remorse. He posted, "Sorry Jay-Z, I feel bad about that tweet," then later admitted he only deleted it because he did not want to lose his account. That is not an apology, that is arrogance wrapped in excuses. And just when the internet began to quiet down, another voice entered the chat, Hazel-E. She reopened the wound, saying people just wanted Beyoncé to acknowledge the rumors about Sir Carter. But let us pause for a moment and ask, why is the world so fixated on the private life of a child? Why do we treat celebrity families like exhibits instead of humans? The truth is, fame may give you a platform, but it also paints a target on your back. Beyoncé has mastered the art of silence, but silence in today's age does not protect, it provokes. And so, as the world speculates and the whispers grow darker, one question remains, is Beyoncé protecting her twins from the world, or protecting the world from its own obsession with them? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain, in the empire of fame, privacy is the most fragile crown of all. And then came Hazel-E. She walked straight into the fire, uninvited, and added gasoline to a rumor that was already consuming social media like wildfire. According to her, if there is truth behind the whispers about Sir Carter's health, Beyoncé should use her massive platform to raise awareness. She claimed that openness could help destigmatize whatever condition he might be facing and inspire other parents in similar battles. Sounds noble, right? But the internet did not buy it. Because no matter how polished or well-intentioned Hazel tried to make it sound, it still felt invasive. You cannot just demand awareness about someone else's child, especially when that someone is Beyoncé, a woman who has built her entire fortress of privacy brick by brick for nearly 2 decades. Hazel may have thought she was amplifying empathy, but to millions, it looked like she was feeding the beast, the public's endless hunger for speculation. And that is the thing about fame, once people taste curiosity, they never stop craving more. The Carters have learned that the hard way. Because even when the attacks do not come from fellow celebrities, they come from the public. Constantly. Endlessly. And here is where things get even darker. Because the internet does not make accusations out of thin air, it collects patterns. It connects dots. And when people started noticing what looked like absence, the rumors only intensified. Think about it. When Beyoncé is seen in public, she is almost always with Blue Ivy and Rumi. Photos flood social media, Beyoncé hand in hand with her daughters, the perfect family image. But Sir Carter? He is almost never there. Even Jay-Z, who is often spotted out with his kids, seems to be seen only with Blue or Rumi, but never Sir. People started digging. They pointed to the 2024 Super Bowl, Jay-Z on the field, posing with Blue Ivy and Rumi, smiling for cameras. Sir? Nowhere to be seen. Then came Beyoncé's Christmas halftime performance, Blue on stage, Rumi captured backstage in an all-white outfit that mirrored her mother's. Tina Knowles was there. Michelle Williams was there. Jay-Z was there. But Sir Carter was not. Again. Even in moments where Jay-Z made surprise stage appearances, videos always surfaced of him leaving hand-in-hand with Rumi, never with Sir. And then, came the theory that broke the internet. People started whispering that the answers might have been hidden in plain sight, inside Beyoncé's own project, Renaissance, a film by Beyoncé. Some fans claimed that subtle clues in the film hinted at something deeper, that both Sir and Rumi displayed spectrum characteristics. They speculated that Sir's condition might be more visible, while Rumi's was less pronounced. Suddenly, forums, Reddit threads, and TikTok comment sections became digital detective boards. People began listing what they claimed were autistic traits Sir had shown, things like leg dragging, hand flapping, staring at lights, repetitive movements. Some even went as far as suggesting that Sir had once been rushed to a hospital in Berlin after suffering a panic episode from plain noise, an incident allegedly dating back to 2018. Of course, none of it has ever been confirmed. But the internet rarely waits for confirmation. It runs on emotion, on drama, on fragments of truth stitched into stories that feel real, even when they are not. And then came one of the eeriest coincidences fans pointed to, Beyoncé's song My Rose. They dissected every lyric like it was a secret letter to her son. How many times have you let yourself get you down, my dear, she sings. So many roses, but none to be picked without thorns. Be fond of your flaws, dear. I hope you love yourself like that, you're my heart, my sweetie pie, my baby. For fans who already believed the rumor, this was confirmation, a hidden message, a mother speaking in code through melody. But behind all the speculation, there is one piece of truth Beyoncé herself has confirmed. Her pregnancy with the twins was hell. She faced preeclampsia, a life-threatening condition that nearly cost her everything. She required an emergency C-section to save both babies. Her body, she said, endured more than she ever imagined possible. She once revealed that by the time she gave birth, she weighed over 218 pounds. Her blood pressure was dangerously high. Her body swollen. Her strength fading. It was one of the darkest, most vulnerable times of her life. And maybe, just maybe, that experience explains everything. Maybe her silence is not secrecy, maybe it is protection. Maybe the privacy the world calls mystery is really just a mother's armor. Because fame may have made Beyoncé a goddess to millions, but when it comes to her children, she is just a mother trying to shield them from a world that devours innocence for entertainment. And that is what the world forgets. Behind every headline, behind every rumor, behind every viral theory, there is still a family. And this one has learned that even silence has a sound, especially when the whole world is listening. And then, the story took an even darker turn. Because reportedly, during labor, things went terribly wrong. One of the baby's heartbeats stopped several times. Doctors rushed, alarms sounded, and the room that was supposed to witness joy turned into chaos. The only option was an emergency C-section. Beyoncé's life and her baby's lives hung in balance. She never said which twin it was. She never gave details. But the whispers filled in the silence. And the internet decided it was Sir. The rumor spread that it was his heartbeat that faded that night, and that maybe, just maybe, those complications left a lasting mark. And then came the video. The one that everyone still talks about. A rare clip, Blue Ivy cradling her twin siblings when they were just infants. But what stopped the world in its tracks was not the sweetness of the moment, it was the detail that should have gone unnoticed. A small tube, attached to Sir. That single frame sent the internet spiraling. Comment sections exploded. That baby's fighting for his life, one tweet read. Others claimed it was proof that Sir had faced health struggles since birth, that the reason we do not see him smiling in the spotlight like his sisters is because every day is already a battle for him. Of course, Beyoncé never responded. But silence, as always, became fuel. Because when the internet cannot find answers, it invents them. Soon, even Rumi, or Rumi, as fans lovingly call her, became part of the conversation. People started saying that after seeing her up close during the Renaissance tour, she might also share similar challenges, only milder. And just like that, one tender family moment turned into a full-blown investigation. Every blink, every breath, every glance was slowed down, analyzed, replayed in frame-by-frame breakdowns by body language experts who suddenly doubled as medical theorists. But then came that moment, the one that silenced even the loudest corners of the internet. During the Protector performance, a song Beyoncé wrote for her children, she brought Rumi on stage. The lights dimmed. The crowd hushed. And for the first time, the mother became smaller than the artist, literally bowing down to her daughter. She knelt before her, sang directly to her, looked at her not as a performer, but as a protector. It was not a show anymore. It was a mother transferring her light. The way the smoke curled around them, the tenderness in Beyoncé's trembling voice, even through the screen, it felt sacred. And when Rumi struck that protector pose, crossing both arms above her head, the entire arena erupted. Fans screamed, cried, and held up their phones like candles. Some said that was the highlight of the entire tour, a daughter reflecting her mother's power, her calm, her grace. But others saw something deeper. Because when Rumi hugged Beyoncé at the end of the song, something inside the queen seemed to break, just for a second. Her eyes softened, her body leaned forward instinctively, her smile trembled. That was not Beyoncé, the icon. That was Beyoncé, the mother, the woman who had almost lost her babies once and never forgot it. And yet, even after that moment of raw emotion, one question echoed across the internet: where was Sir? Once again, his absence overshadowed everything. Theories filled the void. Twitter threads, TikTok reels, Reddit deep dives. Some fans pleaded for compassion, saying maybe he just prefers to stay private, maybe he has different interests, maybe the cameras overwhelm him. But others, as always, went darker. They claimed there had to be a reason. That the Carters were hiding something. That perhaps Sir's health had been fragile since birth. That every public absence was deliberate. And as those rumors spread, so did sympathy and cruelty, side by side. Because that is the tragedy of fame, the world will love your image, but dissect your silence. Beyoncé may wear diamonds and sing of power, but behind the stage lights, she still holds on to the one truth the world keeps forgetting, that her children are not part of her brand. They are her heart. Her second chance. Her reason to keep fighting. And maybe, just maybe, that is why we never see Sir Carter. Because sometimes, protecting your child does not mean hiding them from the world. It means shielding them from the world's obsession with knowing everything. And then, the world turned its gaze toward Rumi Carter. At first, it was small observations, subtle, harmless even. The way her hands fluttered during applause. How she seemed to shrink back when the crowd roared too loud. How her eyes sometimes wandered mid-performance, finding something to focus on beyond the noise. But soon, whispers turned to diagnoses. People started calling it stimmying. Clips appeared across timelines, slowed down, captioned, analyzed frame by frame like crime footage. She's clearly self-soothing, one tweet read. It's a neurodivergent behavior. Others fought back, saying, she's a child, overwhelmed, maybe shy. But logic never wins against curiosity. Once the internet finds a theory, it becomes wildfire, unstoppable, consuming, and utterly detached from empathy. Before long, YouTube was flooded with videos titled, "Why Beyoncé's Son Sir is Never Seen," thumbnails flashing blurry paparazzi shots, dramatic red arrows, and exaggerated expressions of truth revealed. Influencers who had never met the Carters spoke as if they had lived next door. They compared posture, tone, even blinking patterns, spinning stories out of pixels. It reached a point where entire online communities formed, not to celebrate Beyoncé, but to diagnose her children. And that was the tragedy. Because so many of these people thought they were being kind. They called it advocacy. They said it was about awareness. But what they were really doing was projecting, crossing boundaries, mistaking curiosity for care. And all the while, the children at the center of it had no say. Even when Beyoncé's team released statements begging for privacy, the world refused to stop watching. Every smile became proof of health. Every frown became evidence. When Rumi danced during Protector, fans cheered, "See? She's thriving." But when she looked shy a few moments later, others countered, "There it is, she's overwhelmed again." It became a cycle, a machine that devoured innocence. But to those who really watched, who looked past the noise, that performance meant something far deeper. Because Protector was not just a song. It was a vow. A sacred melody that carried the weight of generations. Beyoncé knelt before her daughter, not as an icon, not as Queen Bey, but as a mother. Her voice trembled as she sang to her, eyes locked, hearts mirroring one another. It was not about performance anymore. It was about protection. That night, millions saw a superstar. But Beyoncé saw her child, her blood, her soul, her miracle. And when she sang, "I will always guide you," it was not just lyrics. It was a declaration. A mother saying to the world, "You may talk, you may speculate, but you will not define my children." For decades, Beyoncé has lived under the world's microscope. Every move analyzed, every silence judged. She has mastered control of her image, her legacy, her voice. But that night, she let one layer fall. She let the world see her as she truly is, a mother kneeling before her child, showing love louder than rumor. Still, the noise persisted. Some believed Rumi's appearance was Beyoncé's way of proving something, showing the world her daughter was happy, healthy, radiant. Others believed it was something even more powerful, a mother saying, "Even if my child is different, she is divine." And then came the same old question, the one that haunts every corner of social media: if Rumi came out, why not Sir? Theories return like ghosts. Some said Sir is just private. Others whispered about his health again. A few twisted it into something sinister, conspiracy threads that spiraled far beyond reason. It became exhausting, watching how the internet could turn something pure, something sacred, into chaos. But beneath all that noise, the true fans, the ones who understand Beyoncé's art, saw something much deeper. They saw legacy. They saw a mother honoring her ancestors through her children. They saw healing. The bowing, the lyrics, the symbolism, none of it was random. It was ritual. It was reclamation. Because Beyoncé was not just showing off her daughter that night, she was teaching the world what it means to love without condition. To protect without apology. To celebrate the very differences the world tries to erase. And maybe that was the message the world missed while arguing in the comments. Maybe it was never about why Sir was not there, but about how love can exist in silence. Because Beyoncé did not need to explain her family to anyone. She only needed to remind the world, through one song, one gesture, one moment, that perfection is not the goal. Protection is. Beat, music fades softly, and that is what makes her different. Not the fame. Not the money. But the courage to stand before millions, and kneel for love. And maybe, just maybe, the world got it all wrong. Maybe the world should have stopped diagnosing and started listening, not to the gossip, but to the music. Not to the body language, but to the bond. Because what if the so-called signs people think they see are not symptoms of something broken, but proof of something beautiful, the raw tenderness of a child learning to exist under the brightest spotlight on earth? What if Sir's absence isn't about hiding, but about healing? What if it's not secrecy, but sanctuary? After all, not every story needs to unfold under flashing cameras. Not every child is meant to be proof of perfection. That night on stage wasn't about rumors, it was about revelation. It was Beyoncé's silent manifesto to the world: this is my family. This is my truth. This is my love. And for